많이 많이 많이
모닝 LPI.
It's Thursday evening here in Seoul, South Korea, and it's time for SSL Classic yet again. We're back here, myself and Rapid. We're here every Thursday, starting at 7 p.m. KST, to bring you guys some Brood War action.
Almost every Thursday. I think we did skip one Thursday somewhere in there, but we're back, and it's time for I think our last week of just regular games. Coming up next week, we'll finally start like eliminating players from progression to the next stage of SSL Classic, and things are definitely heating up. And we also have a couple of players who've kind of risen to the cream of the crop. Guys like Effort, who lost his first week and then has just won everything else since then, and does have a lot of time to practice after having been eliminated last week from the ASL, so it's a little bit rough, but really excited for the games today. We've got a couple of great matchups. I think really cool TVT, and then closing things out with Effort versus Rain in a PVZ that should be super sick.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one of the better ones. After the ZVZ we saw last week, I'm sold on the matchup, though.
It's pretty good.
I'm actually really enjoying just how kind of technical and nitty-gritty it can get a little bit of the time.
I mean, sometimes it's just like, oh, I have one more Zergling, so I win. Aren't I the better player, right? But sometimes it does go like really late, and you have like all sorts of like defilers doing crazy stuff all over the map.
Yeah, Scourge sometimes coming in there trying to get the mutas.
Indeed, they do.
We have seen in rare cases, the Queens using the ensnare ability to slow down the mutas.
Yeah.
That's super rare, but it has happened before, so something that could potentially happen in the ZVZ, but as the trend of this tournament has gone so far, ZVZ has been our quickest matchup by far, usually ending in less than 10 minutes, less than 7 minutes oftentimes, so it's been quick. Also, important of note, and I promise you guys this will be the last time I have to say this. But
I don't know about that. Let's not get our hopes up, Wolf.
We're on 1.16 again today, so I know we started things off on the first day of 1.18 when it came out. Then we went back to 1.16, so we went back to 1.18. Now we're back finally to 1.16. I think we're sticking with it this time. So I know it's a bit confusing if you are following. It's like, why do they have the UI that has the resource signs and signs? They don't. The game itself is entirely the same. There's just obviously a few bugs and glitches and whatnot that keep coming in because they keep patching it as it gets ready for the remaster release. So going back to 1.16, it's the more stable release. It's the one that's been out for many, many years. So that's the plan tonight.
And here we go with more plans. Tonight we get a chance to look at how our players have stacked up. I mentioned Effort and his 3-1 score, but also Mind way up at the top of the standings. Fortunately, there are also a bottom of the standings with Hero and Light, who have really struggled after their first week.
Yeah, I wonder if Light will be able to take his win tonight. It's going to be tough against Free. Just feel like he's got to step it up because he is really on the verge of elimination as we have reached the end of the regular season going into playoffs. So definitely on the lower end. Even if he loses today, he won't necessarily be out, but he is in dire straits. Here are our maps for the evening. We're going to have 2 maps of Neo Medusa. We're starting things off on Circuit Breaker, and our last map will be Match Point.
So I think I'm actually really excited to get to see more Match Point. I think it's the map that I have gotten a chance to cast probably the least out of any maps. No Jade tonight. I'm really big fan of Jade, but I also do like 3-player maps. So Neo Medusa is our version of the 3-player map in the SSL map pool. I'm really excited to get a chance to watch a couple of games on there. We also get to watch a ZVZ on a 3-player map, which is always really cool because if you do want to do an early rush, you're guaranteed to know exactly where your opponent is. You don't have the problem of scouting the wrong base and then not knowing if they're randomly cross positions or something like that.
Yeah, which does lead us to very likely a shorter ZVZ on that 3-player map because there's less spawns there to deal with. So starting things off, of course, as mentioned, will be the TVP with Light only winning the matchup against Sock with a cheese rush in the TVT last week. For the rest of his matches, he did not look solid. Notably, his match against Rain, where he got a bit unlucky, but Rain dismantled him immediately. He just had a little bit of bad luck, but I feel like compared to the other players, the builds he's chosen are either insanely cheesy or insanely greedy in terms of economy.
Yeah, or they require you to just hit one micro like move in a team fight, whether it's like dropping zealots on top of tanks or you know, getting zealots dropped on your tanks and having to unsiege immediately, and he just doesn't do it. You're like, okay, well, then you lose all your stuff. Well, his opponent here is Free, who has not had a flawless season, but has looked really good, most notably in his PvP last week against Rain. I actually picked Rain to win that one, and I think a lot of other people might have as well, but Free dominated it, and he looks really solid. So coming into today's matches, you have to give him a slight advantage over Light.
Sure. The only matchup he did lose, of course, or the only matchup played in this one, PvT, he lost to Sock. So this will be his second PvT. He'll have the chance to recover. He got very greedy. If you remember that PvT where he tried to double expand and Sock hit him with a really crisp timing, messed up his micro. But we are going into game number 1, ladies and gentlemen, Light versus Free.
Alright, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our first game of the night here in SSL Classic. Our teal Terran player to the upper right-hand corner of Circuit Breaker is going to be Light, and his Protoss opponent on the other side will be Free. Okay, I was going to say Rain, and I was like, wait, no, that's not until later. Silly things like player names, Wolf.
Yeah.
We're all dust in the wind, man.
Well, normally in traditional StarCraft 2 broadcasts, which you and I have done quite a few more of, we have the player zoom in. In this case, you have to look at the screen to remember if you happen to forget for just a moment. Because we're casting 8 players, so obviously things can get a bit tricky to bring all the matchups. But starting things off here at horizontal spawns here on Circuit Breaker. The top, which means rush distance is going to be a big factor in this TVP. It could be a lot more aggressive with things like siege tank push or very early Dragoon pressure coming out from Free. See, both players will have to scout in order to identify this. We've seen the rise of one-gate proxies in this matchup. I've been watching a lot of Afrika streams. I've been seeing it a lot on Fish, and it's not going to be what Free decides to go for, in fact. To opt for a much more economic build here. But we've seen a lot of that one-gate zealot pressure in this matchup so much, and I was expecting we'd see it today in this matchup just because I've been seeing it all the time and everyone is practicing it right now on Afrika. It looks like he wants to go to a Nexus first instead, potentially. Yep, sending that probe down right now. Go ahead and drop that. So that's risky given the positions we've spawned in.
Yeah, so Circuit Breaker is, I think, one of, if not our biggest map in the map pool, and it's certainly the most standard. Every one of our pros has played thousands of games on Circuit Breaker. It's a pretty ubiquitous map, and I think once you've played a map enough, especially when you have played for as long as both of these players, you kind of get a feel for, okay, I can get away with this or I can't, and then you start to tailor that to the player that you're playing against. You say, well, maybe not against this player, it depends on the spawn, so then maybe you scout first. It's all about figuring out how much you can get away with and when you can kill your opponent. So right now Free is trying to figure out, well, can I get away with this early expansion? And Lights, with his scout, is trying to figure out what's his status like. Can I go for an early rush, early pressure? It certainly looks like we're going to have pretty standard openings here on both sides.
Well, because of the timing of the scout here for Light, he gets a lot of information early, starts his factory immediately. He's going to be able to, if he wants to, go for an early aggression across the map. And because of the late scout of the SCV, Free wasn't able to identify that it was coming from the right side of the map, so he actually incorrectly scouts to the bottom left, and we'll probably go cross now to the top right, knowing the timing. knows that it couldn't possibly be a cross-scout SCV. So going to go up to the top right here, but he will be denied by Marines, so he won't know what the follow-up is. He just knows that his build is exposed, which is always awkward and unlucky on 4-player maps.
So there is one thing that you can do here as Terran, if you don't want to go more towards the late game super mech. There's a 6 Marine push that we've been seeing quite a bit. 6 Marine, 1 tank, you get siege mode, and you push into the natural, especially, oh man, that's a lot of SCVs. Why are those there, Wolf?
Well, it looks like it's going to be the 6 SCV push with just a few Marines. Now, the shield battery here will keep these Zealots alive.
Right.
But if microed correctly, the Zealots have an expiration date. If the Marines are microed correctly, that is, because the Zealots just simply will not be able to hit them. The SCVs will tank. And the key here, the critical moment for Light is if he can get the bunker to finish.
Yeah.
Shield battery is going to be so important.
I actually really like that. We've seen more and more shield batteries. And there's a bunker, actually. Great placement there because it denies a lot of surface area. But because the probes can glitch through these buildings, they are going to be able to get on top of that bunker, and it will be canceled.
Yeah, he has to cancel it immediately. The SCV is on stop position here at the front to bug out the Zealots. Look at how much damage the Zealots have taken already here from the Marines. The bunker is restarted. He has a Dragoon out. That's obviously going to be very important. He's actually just going to go ahead and fight with these SCVs. The shield battery heals up one of the Zealots, but he doesn't re-engage with it. This bunker is getting dangerously close.
If they can drill through these SCVs, it could be huge. But it's perfect line backing there. SCVs blocking everything from getting on these Marines.
Perfectly done here, but he does get the surround on 1 Marine. Just feels like it's too little too late. The bunker's finished, and 3 more Marines are just going to easily walk in. Does get the pick on one of them. The Dragoon tries to escape here, but now it can't accomplish anything. Second Dragoon comes out too late, and he's not going to have Dragoon range for a long time here to actually help poke that bunker down. Shield battery is going to be the first target here. This is so much damage done already. He has to evacuate the remaining probes from the natural. But if any vultures get into the main base, that is pretty much lights out. He's going to have to make sure that that is protected. As we see, it looks like it's going to be a follow-up push here with siege mode.
And indeed, it may just be lights out, Wolf. I have a feeling that just too many probes have gone down. I mean, having an expansion when your opponent doesn't, you can macro your way back in, but there's just no way to break this. I mean, every Zealot in the world will die to these vultures, and even if it's just Dragoons, that's still not going to be able to break this bunker without Dragoon range.
Yeah, and even if he does get the Dragoon range, he could just repair the bunker and kill the Nexus. So he's just going to follow this up with a CC back at home. Looks like Dragoon range is done now, but he can repair the bunker as mentioned, and the Nexus is eventually going to go down. Also, if he targets too heavily and the Vultures sneak by, that is a big problem. So he went for Spider Mines first here. He's just going to try to force his way up the ramp using said mines. Nexus getting very low as well. Down it goes. He's just got full control of this natural now.
Yeah, one of those Dragoons is actually in a little bit of a rough place, but you don't want to overextend. That's what a lot of times, if you do go for these cheese rushes, sometimes players will be like, okay, I have this advantage, I can just run it up and kill him. For instance, if Light tried to run up that ramp right now, he would die and lose the game. So ramps are very powerful, and Light or Free should be able to defend at the top of it, but on the back of this, we do see Light expanding here as well. So even though this will eventually be cleaned up now that the Dragoon range is finished, there's a base behind this and tons of tech to protect Light.
Now he does want to make sure he can damage these Dragoons as much as possible, not just hide behind the bunker, because the follow-up Dragoon push is going to be annoying. Here comes another Vulture. Spider Mines here, protect the Dragoons. He tries to run by. This is a complete failure.
Sick hits there by the mines.
I think that's
too much damage. The Marines, you can see unloading, now looking to advance forward and put more pressure on. The mine dragged all the way up that ramp, and there's just no more Dragoons left for Free.
Double the worker count, it looks like, essentially here as well, with 2 producing CCs. Just trying to get down here and clear up these mines with good targeting, but just not reasonable. Siege mode has finished. Loses another Dragoon here. It's like Light's taking his second win here, Rapid, as I just can't imagine a world where he can transition here. He's starting to get the robo up, but by the time he does, there's going to be several factories operational. He's just going to be outgunned. He's going to be out macroed here. eBay coming up so he can get turrets ready, as at this point, Light has realized, okay, the only thing you could try to do is drop, with very few units, mind you. His robotic support base is not even close to being done, so he may just try to shuttle in some Zealots and Dragoons or an elevator or something like that to just avoid this contain and say, okay, you have half of your units here, maybe I can get some damage done in the main base to pull you back to retake my natural, but it just feels so little, so late.
Indeed, it may well be. I feel like calling 7 minutes and 50 seconds late is, you know, a little bit surprising as far as the feel of this game, but a very successful rush once again. And, you know, these are best of ones, Wolf, so you don't have tons of time to sort of feel your opponent out. And for Light, I mean, especially after last week, that super sick, well-executed double proxy factory rush that worked so well, maybe that should have given Free a little bit of a hint, say, hey, watch out early on. Maybe that early Nexus is not quite the build to go for versus the player.
Yeah, and he got so unlucky, but I have to agree, you know, you really do have to question being greedy like this when you are the better player.
Yeah.
Most would argue, even though in a different world, perhaps it's an unlucky scout for Light or he spawns cross spawns and this works out, you still question, you know, you have to, the risk to take a build like this against such an aggressive player. There's going to be a shuttle coming out. He has the observatory as well. It's going to be a Dragoon drop to start things off. He's going to elevator out to try to circumvent this contain, which is a smart choice, but there's already an SCV, and I believe there's also a spider mine nearby to make sure this is not happening. He's going to scout this in just a second. Actually, almost looks like the SCV just intentionally moved away. I think he may have already seen it and wants to hide that he's seen it.
Yeah, I do think that was the case. I think he saw it right outside the edge of his vision. And continuing to scout around the map, being very vigilant, like just saying, hey, as long as he doesn't have a secret base somewhere, we're good. And in fact, I mean, we as somewhat omniscient observers, we're less omniscient than we were last week, but we still know what's going on, can see exactly how difficult a spot Free is in.
The observer comes over here. He's just going to see if there's any more spider mines in the path of these Dragoons.
I love these depots, even the missile turret, which, oh, wow. Apparently that's just not in range of the observer. Okay, I learn new things every time I watch a Brood War game. It's like, well, apparently you can get that close.
He's going to just try to break this contain instead of trying to attack, counterattack, and this is going to be so inefficient with 2 bunkers here. He committed a lot to the Marines. There's even the siege tank here to the south. He will break this, but again, it's so inefficient. And now he's going to have to kill that siege tank, which means he has to go past the bunker. There's another spider mine hit.
Oh.
And that should just be at the end of these Dragoons.
So much damage. Even though he will be able to finally kill off that tank and pull back, he's lost everything. And look at what's coming across the map.
I think he's going to have to type out here.
There's 6 tanks coming across the map, Wolf. Oh my god, this is
I mean, I really expected him to try to run by. As you can see, there's this location here. You have to go down and then upward, so it's a long path. And if there's siege tanks on the high ground, you won't be able to break through. But going around and counterattacking to force the contain back.
He scans to kill off the observer. Man, this is like all the Protoss units are younglings, and Light's executing Order 66, man. He is not going to take any prisoners here. Okay, here's
right
the Reaper.
Right into the spider mine.
Okay, I actually expected that to be a little bit more impactful, but he stopped the building on the factory. Wolf, oh my. Okay, yeah, that's not that exciting.
Well, I mean, eventually he's going to clean that up, and the push is on. A few more vultures spawn here. He's going to kill quite a few SCVs, actually. But these Marines are now going to force the shuttle back, unless he gets an amazing lucky shot. That is going to be the end of the shuttle drop. That was pretty decent.
Yeah, how good a Scarab would that have had to be to get Free back in this game?
Still not good enough, man. No matter what he's trying here. They're going to try to get a few more SCVs. Okay. Oh, and that's why Scarabs are buggy.
Oh my god, heartbreaking Scarabs here. If he gets the sickest Scarabs off and kills every SCV, I'm like, okay, yes, in fact, that will be, you know, quite a feat to behold. Oh my god, he needs to pick it up, and he does. I
think the problem here, really rapid, is that even if he could press a button to kill every SCV, he still couldn't defend his natural and his main base against what's coming. That's the bigger issue here, the elephant in the room, if you will. You know how much Team Liquid loves that metaphor, but finally this goes down. GG!
Ah, yes, indeed it is. The G'est of G's. Game over there, and Light will claim another victory. Really surprising play last week and this week for a player who up until then was winless, has now picked up a couple of victories in a row off of very aggressive, dedicated pressure builds. That's what we're calling them.
What a Cinderella story it would be if Light, after just having such a pitiful performance in his first few matches, having an injury as well, and having to skip a match, was able to claw his way back into playoffs. You know, several cheeses now, 2 back-to-back to win. And it does make the question you brought up earlier, if you're cheesing oftentimes, almost every game he's played this tournament, why Nexus first? If you can hold it, then you look like a genius and you're so massively ahead, but it just feels like it's too risky. He committed to it, and he couldn't have reacted to the spawning locations. The SCV scout, of course, coming in after he made the Nexus. So he made the shield battery, but it's just so difficult to defend with Zealots only. The Dragoon comes out there, but the bunker's already completed, and
yeah, even with that shield battery. I mean, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. You know, you're going to have a lot of things change from this point on. Anytime somebody plays light, they're going to be like, okay, play safely, force him into a macro game, because he has just not looked good when it comes to those situations. So until we think about the Cinderella story too much, I do want to see him play a macro game and win that. And then I'll be like, okay, well, this guy's on the way up. But, you know, coming up next, we actually have a really cool matchup. It's going to be a Terran versus Terran. Sock taking on Mind. And Mind, one of the best players in SSL Classic this season, going up against Sock, a player who really surprisingly has been smashing ASL.
Yeah, and he also, you know, has really won most of his matches, lost his last TBT against Light because of the cheese that came down, but that's StarCraft for you, man. As you guys just watch, if you're a new-time Brood War viewer, sometimes those Scarabs just don't hit what you want. Sometimes they don't hit anything at all. But guys, we are going to go to a short commercial break before we go to that Terran versus Terran. So stay tuned. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Change our lives. It's so